Welcome to the Soul to Scene podcast, episode 27. I'm Andy Cooper from RMS Motoring, and today I'm joined by Gary Riley.
Hello.
And Ross Annett.
What's happening?
And we've just been watching the Carwow drag race video of the Tesla Model S Plaid up against, what was it, against an SF90 Ferrari and
911 Turbo S.
Turbo S, yeah, 992. Very, very close, very, very quick cars. And the reason we're talking about it is there's one lurking about Belfast at the moment. There's a demonstrator cruising about, left-hand drive only, which is, of course, why Pete cancelled his order. Mr. Order Cancellation himself, Pete. Big shout-out to you, and let us know what you're cancelling next. Can't wait to read all about it. But very, very quick car, 200-mile-an-hour car, quarter mile in under 10 seconds out of the box. Yeah. Just
crazy.
Unreal. But not here to talk about EVs in this whole show, because I tell you why. Looking at car replacements for the Yaris, because I sold the Yaris there a couple of weeks ago, and I've had a list of things, including Model 3 Performance, which I talked about, which I'm not buying, because actually when it comes down to it and you have to spend your money, we've got an EV in the household already. Love the I-Pace, but really, last opportunity, last dance.
This is the last
orders
before you become a 2 EV family. Maybe.
So, anyway, sold the Yaris. It went 24 hours, couldn't believe it. And so the very next day, went to see a Megane RS 300 trophy.
Okay, yeah.
And shout out to Eddie in RMS, who was, just because he has a beautiful liquid yellow one, twisting my arm. And so, I had to go and scratch the itch, and I actually made an offer on the car because it was quite a nice car, but I got chased because the offer was just absolutely pathetic. But
not because Eddie's hungry.
Oh no, it wasn't. I wasn't after his car. It was different car. But it was fine, but it didn't have the same buzz that the Yaris gave me. So
the French va va voom didn't meet the Yaris's.
Yeah, well, look, but it was 5-door, and then so whilst it was 5-door, I was thinking about, right, I'll buy something like the Yaris, but just bigger, with more doors. So I went and our FK at Civic Type R was on the list.
Which I was hoping you would buy.
Gary was twisting my arm, like, buy one. And then I thought, right, well, I'll try and do the same thing that I did with the Megane. I'm going to go and see what one's like. And if I had ended up with that Megane, I would have been happy with it for a while. But guy in RMS had an FK, but he had actually sold his, so I couldn't go and see it. So there was none else for sale locally. So I was looking at that. I was looking at i30Ns, also a great car.
Nice car.
And then the Model 3 Performance was in there. They're all in and around the same price bracket. But I went practical. I went for an estate car.
Right.
Yep. Getting a few firsts out of the way.
Okay.
First Mercedes.
Very nice.
First V8.
It's an age thing.
It is an age thing.
Yes.
Mercedes is an age thing. Once you're north of 40, Mercedes is a lot more culturally acceptable.
Yes, they've always been known as the older gentleman's car.
Yep, so it's the old smokers, So first Mark, first V8, C63 AMG with the 4-litre bi-turbo. Haven't picked it up yet, so this podcast could go out, and then you'll not see a thread on RMS. And if you don't see a thread on RMS, it's because it didn't work out, and then and you all know about it. Awkward. So yeah, looking forward to that. Estate car is what is on its way.
Well, I think C63 is a good choice because they're very tried and tested, well reviewed. Great noise off them.
Well, nearly 500
performance,
500 brake. Yeah. Just if you get to the dump that wee bit quicker.
Yeah.
Yeah, but as Gary says, the sound of them is fantastic. I was at this day last week. There was a Cars and Coffee, a very impromptu one up at Junction 1, and one of the RMSers rolled in the C63, and you could hear it before it was coming in. Not because he was ragging or anything, but it's just there's such a distinctive sound. And I would say for me, the AMG V8 and Jaguar's V8 sound are two of the finest sounding cars there is out there.
Now, was it a normally aspirated one, or was it one of the newer turbo ones?
I'm going to say it was one of the older ones.
Like the 6.3 or something like that, yeah. Which are really meaty, especially if they take the resonators out and stuff like that. And cut boxes out of them. They just sound like a machine gun.
Sounds like thunder.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Cool. So like that's what, and of course, like I couldn't leave it. Like, take your time, pace yourself. And I was like, oh no, right, I need to buy something immediately. And it's nearly a relief from Auto Trader, because I was just check the save. Couldn't have email alerts. No, I had to check, the save searches 500 times over. But
it's always a way when you're fixated on getting something.
And
refresh.
And a wee England sourcing trip, which we've talked about, we all love. So I'm looking forward to doing that next week.
Where is it?
Near Manchester.
Oh, right.
So that'll be a nice wee trip.
Have you ever had an estate guy?
Yes, A6 by TDI for a short time, which I loved. I always said I would buy another at some point, probably a saloon one. I don't really need an estate. I have nothing against them, but just at one worked out it was a trade-in or something like that there. But yeah.
You're not a vet. I used to have an Accord estate, and a friend of ours used to call it my vet's car.
Is that the one that Pete...
Yeah.
Brookfab.
Yeah.
He loves that car, or loved it.
Yeah. I had it for like 5 years. Great job.
Never had an estate. Like I've had the X5 and stuff like that are classed as estates on the tax book, but
it's not an estate though.
No.
So you get all the space, but with relatively similar handling characteristics. By the way, I was talking to Coog on Golf R's, and that was all in the mix as well. But then it was just like, AMG 4 litre as used in Aston Martin Vantage, as used in. So why?
Lovely car. It'll be interesting to see.
Well, we'll see. Hopefully it is.
See what happens.
So when are you getting that?
Just over a week. So can't wait. Cannot wait.
And then carry petrol to it.
Well, hopefully the 4 litre isn't as bad as alcoholic as the. I think that 6.3 or 6.2 is. 20 miles to gallon on a very light run, whereas this should be mid to high 20s.
Firstly, my mum had one, definitely, but it is what it is. You don't buy them for economy.
Speaking of vehicles, you're now EVing yourself.
Yes, ID4 has darkened our doorstep, so to speak. Just got it last week.
First impressions of being an EV owner?
Good. I'm never going to be an EV lover. I'm just into petrol cars and performance cars too much, and the noise and the drama and all that there. But for what it is, it's my wife's car. It's for ADB. I think it's practical. It's easy to run. All that there. It's very comfy. First impressions were good. The thing I noted, it wasn't really about the car itself. It's more about the buying experience, because I work in IT, same as you, Andy, so fairly savvy with all the IT tech that comes with cars now. But when we went to buy it and the salesman came out, one of the first things he does is take you through settings in the car, the apps you have to put in your phone to connect it, blah, blah, blah. And I thought, if you were like a slightly older person who can't operate a computer, coming in here and thinking I'll buy an electric car, it must be quite a scary experience.
Yeah.
And even my wife, who is knows her way around a computer, trying to set up the driver profiles and get it connected to her phone and all that there, she just found it a little bit intimidating, but it's kind of anything else. A couple of days ended, it's grand. She's enjoying it now.
Yeah. Well, I think all the apps are fantastic, because you can do all the fun stuff.
They're great. It's just
preheat the cabin and do all that sort of stuff. But yeah, totally. It's once you have to be into like the way you're into tech.
Compared to the old days where you walk down the handle, you key and you drive off. That was it.
Yeah,
That's as much as you have to think about it.
Put the key in the slot, away you go.
Yeah, but other than that, all good. Got the EV charger installed at the house last week. Guy did it at short notice and did a good job. So we've done one charge at the house so far, which I just did it during the daytime just to kind of see how it goes.
Just to see what,
so I'm going to get onto the proper tariff now and then start looking at the rates and things and see what it's costing. But we're sort of lucky we've chargers here in work, so we can do a couple of charges per week in there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, look, there's 2 families out of 3 at this table have an EV. This is why I like V8, because my next car will probably be electric.
I've said we've talked about it in previous ones. I love the idea of an EV. I really do. I see the benefits of it both ways, but I just haven't found something that fits the niche I need to at the minute. I kept my X5. My 3 years were up on it in January time there, and I've kept it. And I couldn't be happier, with it. I still love it. It does everything I need it to do really, really well. It can carry me, the kids, the wife, whatever we're doing in luxury. There's a tow bar on it. I can tow 3.5 ton in behind it. I don't tow that often, but that's something that the EVs don't do. I know you can some of them you can tow with them, but there's something stupid like a really light, like 750 kilos is the maximum load you can take with an EV.
Apparently it has terrible impact to range.
And this is the thing, they're not for everyone. It depends very much on your driving circumstances and kind of commute you're doing and stuff. Like we got it on a Friday, and on the Sunday we had to go down to Dublin and then come back via a slightly longer route, and we didn't take it. Took my M4, and it's just purely, only had it 2 days, not quite sure how far it goes in that range and blah blah blah, so we just thought, start to get familiar with it before we drive any further.
Before you do an Andy coming home from with the Jaguar.
But yeah, my wife would only use it for work commutes through and school runs. You know what you're doing a lot of probably driving around the country and the towing and stuff.
It's probably perfect for, and again, this is really where I do think the EVs for that kind of, and I really am not generalising, but like the school run mums and stuff like that there, because part of the problem that we've seen with diesels and the DPFs blocking up is because they're not driven enough to regenerate them. They're same as the petrols now with the petrol particulate filters. Whereas the EV, you can literally jump in it. There's no pre-warming it. There's nothing else. There's no
planted.
There's no mechanical sympathy needed or engine sympathy with it. You literally get in, drive it where you need to do, kick the kids out of school, head off to the gym, and then on do your own thing.
They're very easy. That's the way I put it. They're easy to drive, which if you're into your cars, you're driving maybe is not a good thing. But great for the 95% of the population. That's all they want.
I'll be interested to see how family life goes with it after a couple of months.
Yeah.
But it's really fitted in with ours fantastically. But have the Merc for long runs is the plan as well, if necessary. Or short runs, or maybe just driven all the time and end up blowing a fortune in fuel and the EV just gathering dust.
Sure, all the money you made from selling the Yaris cheap.
Oh, I know, the Yaris cheap. Listen to
let yourself down.
Great value.
It's not like you to give cars away.
I did not give it away.
Well,
he's very generous.
Some would say you give it away a little bit.
Oh dear. Right.
Some say he used to be called Andy.
We don't need to be talking about my vehicle sales or EVs anymore. What else? Let's is on the
about Dakar 911s? Who can afford to buy one, and why would you buy one? Right. It's a bit of a crazy thing. It's basically a 911 GTS with a 475 horsepower engine, but a 50mm suspension rise, with another 30 on top if you buy the lift system.
Did you see Chris Harris in it or Johnny Smith? Yeah, one thing that car seems absolutely awesome because it can just handle any sort of surface. But I really see it's supposed to have Rothman style livery, but they obviously can't use Rothmans because of the sort of
the 953 did in the 80s, wasn't it?
Yeah, like the nicotine connection. Yeah. So they have rough roads, which is like
some kind of vape connection,
which is some sort of like little own brand type version of it,
the Wish.com version.
Yeah, totally. Like, we can't do that for copyright, so we'll call it flipping. I know.
Should have got Bud Light.
Brendan's bread. Exactly. So, but very very cool. But Porsche, like, how many special editions can they turn out, and how much are they asking for it?
I don't even know. I think it's 40 or 50 grand more than a GTS.
So about 160 grand, something like that.
In fairness, every review I've read, every video I've watched, they've absolutely loved it and say it's brilliant fun, and you can take it off the road. Obviously, you could, like what you did, you went over to Nürburgring recently. You could drive over to Germany, and then you could go up in the Alps, you could drive in the hills, take it anywhere, free forests and all that there. But at the same time, you kind of go like, who asked Porsche to make an off-road 911? When they have SUVs and stuff already, it does that.
This is not to do with the fact I'm bitter that a whole pile of journos got invited to Lydden Hill to do a rallycross course or nothing. But that's really, all the journalists were flown down there by Porsche to do the rallycross course. It looked absolutely mega crack, but it was like that's the use case for that car. Otherwise, it just goes into a collection. It's not really it.
But again, the Porsche know they can build this here because there's an ask for every seat, and if you create something special edition, you're going to have people with more money than sense buy it. For me, I think it's a completely pointless car.
It reminds me a bit of like a gold iPhone or something.
Yeah.
It just does what Darwin does, but you don't really need it, but somebody will just go and spend the money on it just to have it and show it off.
But like Porsche are the masters of this sort of carry on. But they also produce some amazing cars like GT3, GT2, Turbo S.
911 Turbo S. Go back to the one that, it launches like nobody else's business. And Andy, you and I at Bishop's Court, do you remember when I let you in that time?
That time, yeah.
But Do you remember the 911 Turbo S that Boydie was driving?
Mm-hmm.
That was an animal of a car. An absolute savage, like just...
It turbos and meth and all the rest. It was
Turbos meth was run just shy of 1,000 horsepower and could have been run over it if they had wanted.
It's a 991, was it?
991.2, I think. And then, but it was just phenomenal. That for me, you know, that's my dream car.
Yeah. Well, look, at least Porsche do make all flavours for all.
Well, they definitely do, and I think with this one they're milking the back catalogue a little bit, because like there's that famous poster, not just of the Rothmans 953, but the 959 with the race suspension, because there was an off-road version of it as well, and maybe it was only me had it in my wall, I don't know, but there was definitely a poster doing the rounds, an iconic picture of it. So it'll be interesting to see how many of these they actually sell, but probably hundreds.
It's the same. Didn't we talk a couple of podcasts ago about BMW launching the M3 CSL, or no, sorry, not the CSL, the M3 CS, the Batmobile one?
Yes.
The fucking price of that was like £500,000, or it was something really completely ridiculous as well.
Yeah.
But they pre-sold them.
That's this. Like the manufacturers are they on the pig's back in a certain way, because it's the golden age, the last of the internal combustion. So all these run out models are coming out, and maybe guys our sort of age that are growing up with BMs and all the rest, but suddenly have lots of ways and means about them to go and spend big money in these sorts of things.
But you feel at the moment that they could really subsidy anything and just make it, you know, say it's a special edition, it's covered in crystals or something like that there, and they'll still sell it.
You see, right, I need to get off my high horse here, but I'm going to get on a wee bit, is they do things like, so GT3, 992 GT3, unobtainium, you can't even get it. Yeah. But if you do get on that list, and like it is Masonic handshake job to get one of these, and if you have the money as well, and then you have to take the watch. I think you have to buy that watch that comes with a new GT3, and it's like, Porsche, stop it.
Yep.
This is just unnecessary. You know, you've got them by the balls already. Now you've got them by the wrist,
and therefore then you can't. And when you get it, you can't sell them.
Yeah,
you have to sell it back to Porsche. You can't sell it privately to another collector or anything else, because if you do, that's you off you're
blacklisted.
The list forever.
Yeah, which is a shame, because out of and I think Porsche they make great cars, but those cars deserve to be driven as well, not put away, not hidden, not, you know. So like the guy that sold me my GT4, I was so grateful, you know, to get one the spec I wanted and all the rest, because I knew I couldn't have got it any other way. I couldn't even get to drive one. No. Porsche wouldn't let me drive anything.
The cars are, like, as you say, they're absolutely fantastic, but the Porsche attitude is very elitist. And this thing about, you know, it's a very close-knit kind of group of buyers, and it's very hard to get in it. It just seems unfair. Not that it matters to me, I would never afford one, but it just, when you look at how you can buy other cars, and then this particular brand doesn't do that. I suppose Ferraris did to a certain degree as well. They used to be a bit closed off. I don't know if they are nowadays, but they were very particular about what journalists could review the cars and things like that. And
that's right. Didn't Chris Harris get banned for years for testing Ferraris, because he was like, really, he told the truth about it. So how they set up a journalist car, or how they set up the test cars, is very, very different from the real life cars.
Boosted through the roof for the journals. Different tires and all the rest of. Absolutely. But maybe we're just jealous here. We're all like, see if we were flown over to a rallycross circuit and there was three 911 Dakars sitting in front of us, and there's the keys, lads. We'd be all like, it's the best thing ever. You need to buy one of these and see this watch. It's class and all.
We'd all be on Instagram with the watch poses.
Totally. Gary, what else do I have?
We've got a Golf R 333 coming out, which I know nothing about. I didn't even look at the spec of it. I just saw the price and stopped reading, because it said $65,000, and I thought, what kind of Golf costs £65,000?
The Golf 8
is insane.
The Golf 8 has had a hard time.
Yeah,
it is not getting very well reviewed. The Golf R,
considering the 7 was so well received,
the 7.5,
and they are kind of up the game as far as hot hatches go.
So a Golf 7.5 GTI was also on the list, and they do these 40-year ones, the performance packs, different special editions, which seem to be, again, quite fruity, but I didn't go that way. And I don't think I've had a Golf GTI. No.
Mark O'Neill on the forum, Mark315, I think he is, helped me out at the shows and stuff like that with Rennes and Pete. He had the last 7.5 GTIs. He had he had the R before it, then changed to the GTI, and honestly,
it was the TCR. Sorry, I was thinking about
the graphics on the side.
Yeah, the graphics on the side. He sold it, and Nigel Lamont from Reload podcast, he has it now, and it's funny seeing the small changes he's making to it, and he's just making it from what was already an amazing car. He's just spacing it, he's lowered it, he's going to tune it, he's doing different bits and pieces. They are such a good car, Andy. Such a good car, and so much better than the Golf R.
His isn't a TCR, it's and the name's escaping me out now.
It's like edition 35 or...
I saw pictures of it on...
I'm going to have to text Mark and see what it was. But it's such a good... And the wing back seats and everything in it, it was so nice.
Yeah, fantastic.
So nice.
Yeah, and maybe like an Alcantara trim steering wheel and that sort of stuff. Yeah. See, that is far more interesting to me than...
And they have this weird way, it's like this overboost thing. So Mark took, after Dubshed, he took me and Rennes out for a run on it. And like, it's driving at full boost, and then like, I think you press a button or something that gives you like an extra 20 or 30 horsepower for, a shorter period of time until it recharges. It's so cool, so it is. It really is. It's
nice.
Yeah.
Unreal. Yeah, so they're very cool. But I don't think so this is a Mark 8 Golf R 333 at 65 grand.
65 big ones.
And I presume the 333 means it's 333 horse, is it? Or is that the number they're making?
I think so. I'll quickly Google it here. It's maybe taking the Porsche route here. It's making a special edition, which they don't really need to, but some purist will buy it. But I just think 65 grand for any Golf is crazy.
Bonkers.
But, you're looking now at M3s being up in the 100k, which used to be Ferrari and supercar money. So maybe it's the way things are going.
Speaking of that, and good old BCA, which we know and love, did you saw a G82 M4 for around in the 50s?
Yeah, it was... Today I was looking at it. The estimate on there was 50 grand, which means probably 54, 55 in a forecourt. They're dropping.
Wow.
Big time. Because that car last year was at least 70 on there, 75.
Yeah, what are they, 80 grand new, something like that?
Mm-hmm. 80 plus, if you any options, you're up around 100. Very easy.
I doubt the M3 Tourings will ever hit that number. But
they're so nice. So nice.
There we go. Funky colour, Golf R.
Absolutely. No.
It's kind of like a yellowy.
No thanks.
Metallic yellow.
Well, cat's pee yellow.
You're right, Andy. 333 horsepower. Potential collector's item. Of course, they're going to say it. Krapovich exhaust.
I'm far more interested in these spiced up front wheel drive versions, the TCRs and of this world.
There we go. Yeah, 65 grand. So.
Thanks, but no thanks.
Not for me.
Not for me, indeed. What else do we have, Gary? You're the man with the list here. Keep us right.
There's a long-running thread on RMS about car registrations, which I've been following because I recently bought one for myself. And again, this is like a running theme in this episode, the price of everything. Mm-hmm. Have you seen some of the prices of them?
They're just getting out of hand.
Like I must be totally out of touch. I remember looking at gas plates about 10 years ago thinking I might buy one, and I didn't at the time and should have, because gas 700, which I priced, is now 10 grand.
That's just nuts.
They were in the hundreds of pounds when I remember looking at them.
Now, part of that is because it's so easy now, because since the DVLA merged, that if you're in the south of England, you can buy what do they call it, a dateless plate, which is really a Northern Irish registration, or Belfast Reg or whatever it is. But even still, a 3x3 plate is at that money. It's just nonsense.
I ended up with a £400 one. But again, it's just, it's a plate. It serves no functional purpose apart from look nice.
It does. I think it can tidy up a car.
Oh, definitely can.
But not at that money.
I'm the same, but do you know what? I love seeing how much people get their knickers in a twist over metro plates and whatever else. I'm with you guys. I think it freshens the car up. It makes it a wee bit tastier. You go, it's just a normal plate. It's 3 digits and 3 letters. And who gives a shit? But these guys getting their fucking knickers in a twist over somebody sticking on a metro plate and how it freshens. I think a nice 3x3 plate is nice, but they're not worth that money. There's no doubt about it.
It really helps. There's a new G80 M3 near me, and the guy has an English reg on it, and he's done it in a nice font and all there. But it's It's so long.
Comic Sans.
It would look much better with, just a
4D.
2 or 3 digits. Yeah.
Wasn't it Ulsterbus or TransLink started selling off some of the old? Because remember, all the old Ulsterbus used to have 3 letters, 3 numbers, and Ulsterbus then or TransLink were selling off loads of.
Were
the
they?
old, yeah.
They generate money.
Who was the guy? There was one of the RMS members, and he was based in the Normal Road there. Something. Remember, he used to sell the number plates. I can't even remember what his name is because I bought something off him a long time ago. He used to sell them, and he even marked them as all ex Ulsterbus things.
Right, okay.
Yeah. But again, TransLink were early on the
Speaking of buses, someone in RMS bought a bus. Did you see that, right?
Logies.
Yeah.
So cool.
A bus, a proper bus, not a
I know
mini bus.
He's bought a classic. He's bought a classic bus, hasn't
Yeah.
he? Yeah, like a
This big double decker.
52-seater thing.
Yeah, 1965.
Spring spacers, the whole works.
It's so freaking cool, so it is.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, they do wedding hire and stuff like that there, and you
Yeah.
can see a real niche for it here.
Yeah.
But it's just, you see that kind of, again, it was fully restored. Somebody else had spent a lot of money on it, and he thought, well, look, we're going to take a chance here. And when you see it, and all the wee different intricate bits and pieces, it's one of those ones there, where the driver sitting forward in like his own wee cab, and to the passenger side where people walk into the bus, it's all closed off, so it's like a single seat up front. It's just really funky.
I always wanted one of those, the coin dispensers.
Yeah.
Like something like Taxi Driver would have it clipped onto a door card,
Ding, 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 ding.
Exactly, yeah, no.
There used to be, not far from here, there used to be a double-decker bus that parked across the road here in Boucher Road every day, and they serve food.
Oh, cool.
And somebody converted it all, so you could actually go and sit on the bus. And
We see-
I forget the name of it now, but it disappeared. I think there was some health and safety issue.
That's fabulous use of a bus. Now, is this to transport the guests, or is this to wine and dine the guests, or is this to wine and dine the guests on their way to...
This is to transport guests to and from wedding venues and from the churches or chapels to the wedding venue.
Can you imagine at a wedding party and there's a bus to chauffeur you about, but the upper deck had a big bar in it? You just be swaying
Disco?
about.
Disco ball and everything.
Talking about buses, like if I had the money to do it, like my kind of like long term dreams and stuff, like the big American RVs and stuff like that. There, I would love to buy one of like the TransLink Gold Liners and convert it into like this big mad motorhome and just travel everywhere.
Just drive up and down Glen Shane every day.
Ross's fun bus, absolutely fantastic. Well, I look forward to that thread.
Yeah.
When you get that, Ross.
And bus, automotive.
Yeah,
Got a ringed it.
painted all black.
Yep, I do it all matte black. Fantastic.
Awesome.
Plates are nuts. I'm glad I got mine when I
Yeah.
did, because I don't think I would go.
You've
for
got a
mine.
couple, have you?
Yeah. Got my ACZ and an OAZ.
I really like. I love the look of the 2-digit ones. I just can't bring myself to spend the money on it. It's not worth it. It's
Yeah,
just,
well, I got mine cheap back in the day, like, or I would
there's
have.
better things I can
I
spend.
actually
it on.
love Lions' plate. I think it's cool.
Oh, it says all the
This
nines
is
or
like
the
9999
Yeah.
and then two letters after it. It's,
Yeah.
it's really cool. So it is.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Unbefitting him.
Ooh. Shots fired.
Shots fired indeed. Ross, you're bound to have something to talk about rather than plates.
Plates.
No,
Got a blank space in our show notes
We've
unless
got
it's invisible ink. Let me see. No.
actually, the real reason for this episode, I can't believe we're 28 minutes and just talking nonsense. We're supposed to be talking about listener questions, forum questions. So let's rip into a few of those. Unfortunately, the first question's for me. Great. Boydie asks, what is after the Amira M4, M3, and why? Oh, it's for all of us, sorry. So what's after the Amira? I have absolutely no idea. I tell you what,
You've only just got it.
and I have planned it. It's always one of those things. I plan to keep it forever, or until
Yeah.
someone offered me a GT4 RS at money I could afford, which is not going to happen because they're now 250 grand. They're like double their money.
I think what will happen is Lotus will announce an Amira S model or Club Sport, and that's the one you'll want.
You're right.
Yeah. It won't be a different car.
Oh, I'll just be a complete sucker for that. I'll be like, yes,
It'll be some hardcore Amira.
Take my money. 10 extra horse, special flipping stripe up the door. Lovely. I'll take it.
50 mil suspension raise it.
Well, you know the Yaris is gone. C63 is coming. So there's your answer there. Boydie, Gary, the M4, you've just got it, but
Just got it too. I don't know. I really love it, but I guess 4 doors wouldn't hurt. I'd probably go to an F80. Or if money would stretch, maybe the newer model, the G80, if they come down in price in the next year or two.
get it done.
Because although I hated them on this show about a year ago, I've really come around them. The grill's kind of becoming less of an issue. I don't look at it anymore.
I tell you one alternative, which I bet you thought, yeah, I've thought of that. And this was sort of on my list, but they were to be honest, they were £10,000 outside my price range. Quadrifoglio.
Oh yeah.
They are
definitely would take one of them.
There was
quite happily.
I was at the Cars and Coffee up at Temple Patrick on Sunday. Took the Lotus. It was parked beside Phil's Trevor. Oh, what a car! Couldn't get out of it. Do you know how to get out of a? Because there's no door handles.
There's no door handles.
There's a button on the inside. There's a button on the mirror.
On the mirror to open it.
But to get out of it, I'll not tell you how you get out. It is you just have to get in. It's a mental challenge. I couldn't get out.
Phil nicely.
It's like an escape room. They are like an escape room to try and get out. Yeah, but. Anyway, what was I even talking about? Yes, there was
Alpha.
There was an Alpha there in Quadrifoglio.
Gav's white one, though.
No, blue one. Blue one with some carbon bits.
Gav 525's white one is
gorgeous.
stunning. Yeah, I've seen that at the Cars and Coffee.
Yeah, so this was a blue one with the grey wheels, and I was like, oh, why did I buy that, Mark? I haven't even got it yet. But I couldn't afford it anyway.
No.
But just
they're a really stunning car. Phil took me out to run his silver one when he had it, and they're so punchy too, power-wise, like really impressive.
Yeah, they're just really just a lovely looking thing,
and they sound amazing.
Yeah, that V6.
Sounds so good. Me with the M3, I've been offered good money for the M3. You know, as you all know, it didn't cost me very much money, and I've spent a few pound on it. But my kind of issue with that is the M3 is really just my weekend or sunny weather. Like, I came down at the night because why not? It was a nice evening, blasted down a wee bit. It's a 20-year-old M3. It's not the fastest car. A granny Yaris beat it in a drag race, you know. So, but I was offered really strong money for it, and if I had sold it, I'm either going to do something stupid with the money or I'm going to go out and blow it. But the problem for me is, let's just pull 25 grand here. 25 grand would buy you a lot of nice cars, but it's not a yellow E46 nice car.
Yeah,
and as I've said before, that car for me, that's my car, my way, my seats, my steering wheel, the diff in it, the airbox, the everything else. It really is a culmination of all parts car. And whilst it can't launch off the line in the way that a Yaris can, or most modern cars for that, for that point of the fact is, a modern diesel is probably quicker than it. But on the right roads at the right time, with the windows down, there's very, very little else I would ever want to be sitting in. Apart from, I loved your GT4. I still think back to going out round Kirkson that with you that day. Like, it was just such an accomplished car. It was just amazing everything it done. But for me, my M3 is just a weekend car, so unless it's going to be something batshit crazy that literally is just a weekend car, but even then, I don't know if I'd want the likes of a Caterham or something else, you know, something like that. I love the idea of them, but you test drove. Remember that you took the Caterham for the weekend, or remember?
Yeah.
Could you live with one as a weekend car, or would you get bored of it quickly?
I didn't particularly gel with that. In terms of thought of long-term prospects, driving it up the Antrim Coast Road on a sunny day, amazing. But
when the first lorry passes you and you're realising you're down at like hubcap level,
do you know what? See hiring one. That's the best thing. That's the best thing to do. Funnily enough, it puts me in the mind of when I was test driving the Morgan, and I was over at Morgan, and they get to hire you one, so you could fly over, go to the Morgan factory, do a tour, and then hire one for the afternoon. That's first class, but a nice car to hand back, because I know it is the sort of thing that the use case is quite limited, so it would sit in the garage.
It's not even a second car; it's a third or fourth car.
Well, that's actually what they were saying, that these people who are buying a Morgan, it's not a second car. It's part of a collection.
Yeah. They already have something nice.
Yeah.
And something else nice.
Yeah, so it's something. They want something totally different driving experience. But yeah, do you know what? There's something about an E46 M3 makes me think of the early days of E36s, E46s, that straight six rasp.
20 years ago it was my dream car, and I'm lucky enough that I won my dream car.
Yeah.
And I've spent a few pound on it to make it my car now. The one that 21, 22-year-old Ross would have loved to have had there. Now I have it, and I just enjoy it for driving it.
That tells you all you need to know.
Yeah.
I think if we all had, like yourself, Ross, had a classic-ish sort of thing from that era, and the values are going through the roof, you're like, well, maybe hold on to this because they'll never have another opportunity.
I think that era was quite magical for BMW because they've made faster cars since and more tech and heavier and all that there. But like asking a kind of BMW enthusiast, and a lot of them will say the E46, the E39, that kind of time period, they were the two ones to have and still are. And they may not be as quick as modern ones, but just for feel and noise and being natural aspirated and all that there. And I say up like having an M4, which I love, but I've had the E46 and E39 as well, and they're absolutely amazing, both of them.
Yeah, excellent. So you are, Boydie.
Next question. If you could be sponsored for 1 year to take part in any motorsport in the world, what would it be and why? Now, there is a question quite similar to this addressed to me, so I'm going to let you guys have a crack at that one.
Interesting. Not really into single-seaters, or I'm not an F1 fan or anything like that there. I think for me it would probably be just Irish rallying, Mark II escort.
Nice.
A year hunting about the back roads and that there would be great crack.
Yeah.
Plus my family have done it for a long time, so that's probably what I've grew up around.
That's a
my personal
really
love.
good answer. I like that one, so do.
Yep. Ross?
Do you know something? All I want to do is do circles and drift cars. So I would love to somebody sponsor me to put me out in something nice and just go sideways. Yeah, that's what I would like to do.
Class.
Drifting?
So,
Yeah,
Awesome.
great. And hooligan mode in the M3 then?
just hanging a second gear drift. That's still like the holy grail for me.
Brilliant. Aidan McGee asks, if out and not drinking, do you prefer alcohol-free or the old faithful mineral soft drinks? And you know what? I will pick up on this question because as a recent dad, this is now a fairly big thing because not a lot of drinking's done on a weekend like back in the day. See, drinking a mineral. What a word! I'll have
Such
a mineral.
an Irish way of saying it. Mineral.
I'll have a mineral, sir. But
Brown lemonade, please.
see, if you're 3 or 4 cokes in, you're wired.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, well, I'm not going to get much sleep tonight anyway because the wind keep me up, and then flip me.
So you get wired on 3 or 4 Cokes, never mind Red Bull or something like that.
I wouldn't touch Red Bull. Well, if someone hands you a Jaeger bomb, you can't say no.
You can't say no.
Hang on. I vaguely recall Limelight on Tuesday nights about 15 years ago. Pints of Red Bull for $5.
Terrible.
Sorry, Red Bull vodka. I should say.
Terrible for it,
Yeah.
and so bad for you.
And then palpitations the next day.
Triple vodka and Red Bull. Oh, just
You wake up the DTs.
Yeah.
Oh, just your lining in your stomach just goes by you the next morning. Oh,
Yeah.
just flipping horrendous. But I don't do the alcohol-free stuff. I would. I just see it as pointless.
Sacrilegious. I've tried them, and do you know something? They're fine. They're all right. I was around at Rennis's. I can't remember. It was one day. Actually, it was last year, so it was. And he had the Guinness Double O was just in, and I like a Guinness, so I was like, "Yeah, look, give me a ton of it." And it was fine. It was all right, but it wasn't great.
Tell me this: would you cruise down the road having a Guinness Double O the same way you would Skull a Monster?
No chance.
Exactly.
No chance.
Exactly. So it doesn't have a. Do you know that stuff doesn't have a good look about it? Now I'm going to completely contradict myself, which I'm famous for, by the way. So don't believe a word I wouldn't believe a word I say. However, we are experiencing some sort of heat wave at the moment. By the way, and you'll laugh at this, the aircon has stopped working in the Lotus. So it's a bit.
Surprise.
I'm not even laughing. I don't have air conditioning working in the E46, so I'm far from bothered.
It's a bit of a hot box.
Are you sure they actually had it?
No, it did because we had
Just checking.
We had 5 days in France and Germany, all the rest, and we were ice cold. But must be, I don't know what it needs. It's more than a regas because it's that new. But we get it sorted under warranty. That's what warranty's for.
It's Lotus Life.
But anyway, on a night like this, and if you weren't if you just want to sit outside, and if you had a non-alcoholic beer, it would give you that feeling of that sort of relaxed type of. Because I don't know how much of that's placebo too. And I bet you there's people out there that I get absolutely hammered on the 0% stuff because obviously they're mental, number one.
Yeah.
But, that plays the tricks in their mind.
This is the thing. Like, when Guinness Zero came out, I remember reading there was an ad on Twitter from Guinness, and I clicked on it, and all the replies like, "Oh, why would you drink Guinness Zero if you're not going to get drunk? What's the point?" You think, what is the fucking point? It's minus, zero alcohol, so you can actually go out. Everyone else is sitting with pints. You don't look the guy sitting at Club Orange.
Yeah.
You don't want to be the odd one out. So it looks exactly the same, but you can drive home.
Yeah.
Basically. And I've had it. Like I quite like it. I thought it was as close as you'll get to Guinness. It's probably the best out of them. Erdinger alcohol-free isn't bad. It's still a slight aftertaste, but those would be the two for me. Before they came along, I probably would have drunk Coke because the only other option, which I'm old enough to remember, was Caliber, which tasted like absolute fucking pish.
Another Caliber, yes.
Grim.
It was horrible.
Grim. Rigger asks, why are the general standards of driving nowadays so bad? Lack of police presence on the roads and relying on cameras instead.
I just think it's old Jaguar drivers.
Oh, really? No,
I can say this because I met them last week.
Is this, when you say old Jaguar drivers, are you talking about the age of the car itself, or the age of the driver, or both?
You find both are they're not mutually exclusive. It's actually a really good point. People could not give a shit. My drive today took me from work in Downpatrick, had to go to Lisburn, then from Lisburn had to go to Dungannon, and then the whole way back. And like genuinely, the amount of people you see head up and down on their phones, weaving all over the road, it's absolutely fucking ridiculous. So it is. I've got in the habit now of sticking my phone like where I can't reach it. So if I'm driving the X5, everything's CarPlay in the stuff now anyway. So I fire it in the back so that there's no temptation to grab it.
Yeah.
But it's ridiculous, and it pisses me off. Like it really does when you see that there's such a poor standard of driving, and you driving, blipping the Lotus. People going, look at that fucking dickhead. Me driving up and down the road.
I've never do such
blipping in the M3. Gary coming in, loud, noisy cars. We're the ones who get targeted, but yet the amount of retards who are out there with no care or consideration for anybody other than themselves, flicking through TikTok and Instagram and whatever other shite that they're doing and not concentrating on the wheel, it's ridiculous. So it is.
I worry when you get the combination of that and HGV driver or something like that, where you suddenly see a lorry flipping across the, and so you ever notice a lorry hag on the road? Like you see it a mile away, and it could be scary business. Not saying the HGV drivers are generally good, very good, like, but that type of thing, if it's in people's mentality when they're young, I'm a bit bored, I'll just get the phone out or something like that.
It's all too easy. Like again, part of my last job was I was driving the HGV souls, and you're that much higher up, you see everything, but like even on a light load for me, I had 20 ton on the back of it, and if something goes wrong at 20 ton,
frightening.
It's a world of shit.
It's a lot of weight pushing it along.
It's a lot of weight a lot of momentum to try and stop, and you might only be doing 45 or 50 mile an hour.
It's a lot of responsibility for sure.
Reminds you of that. Remember the video, the guy letting his kid drive the lorry? Oh, and he got done recently, didn't he?
Yeah.
Didn't go to court. You think about like how much weight was in that? A child controlling it. It's insane.
Nuts.
I got a question from Riggers. Interesting. The general standards of driving nowadays so bad. Is it? There's two perspectives. Is it that the general standard of driving isn't up to scratch on a technical level? People aren't proficient enough, and that the driving lessons aren't being good enough, or they're not learning enough? Or does it mean that people don't give a shit? They know how to drive well, but they're choosing not to do it?
Less consideration. Do you know what I was actually going to mention? Is COVID a factor in that? Or people being off the road for a while? And
I don't think so. I don't. Look, at the end of the day, we all have to meet standards to pass your driving test. And that's maybe only standards for the day, but we've all met those standards to do it. Some people can't reverse. It's just, and no matter how many lessons they get, they've done enough to get through the test, and that's enough to do it. I see people every day, and I couldn't do it. Like, when you see people winging it up on the curb and then dropping it down with no sympathy for anything at all. But that's someone who's not confident parking reversing. They've done enough to get through their test, but I see this question more as people who just are so arrogant and up themselves that they couldn't care less anymore.
Well, I had a fun experience this morning, actually, because I met two drivers doing very different things, taking them to Sunday school. So one was oncoming in one of them new Defenders, the three-door ones, but absolutely flying down the back road. And this back road that we take to the school is quite narrow. You can just about fit two cars on it. So this Jeep was coming along, I'd say 60, 70 mile an hour easily, and not slowing down for any oncoming cars whatsoever. So I was tied on the hedge as far as I could go, and they literally just squeezed through. with about an inch to spare. I just thought there's no need for kind of speeding that road, and there's no space. And then the opposite in front of me, someone who's driving so slowly and kept braking for every oncoming car, but then would be kind of veering out over the line and not keeping a kind of steady, straight approach themselves.
Someone you can't get past.
Yeah, which is frustrating. You know, they're not really going to do any great danger at that speed, but equally it frustrates drivers
it's
behind.
The frustration of drivers behind.
Yeah. Well, I tell you one thing I've noticed driving the Lotus, and compared to the Porsche, is that people are far nicer to me. I get let out at junctions and smiles and thumbs up and not the wanker sign, and it's not because they recognise me. But you know what I mean?
Honk if you're horny.
But I think to round up that question is, look, we're all in the cars, we're in the driving, where we enjoy what we do, we take a pride, hopefully a lot of us in what we do, and hopefully we are mostly, we're adult enough about what we do on the roads, you know. And those people here maybe not into it the way, and you know what, we are a damn breed. EVs and automation and all that sort of stuff, you know what. I know.
All the new Chat GPT drivers, that's what you're going to be.
Yeah. Exactly. So the next let's nip on to the next question. We have 50 grand to spend. Group A Evo asked this question: 2 car guys for your retirement in the south of France. I'm retiring in the south of France. Fantastic.
Somewhere around Monaco, and you only 50 grand to spend it.
I know.
What's going on there?
By the time we're ready to spend 50 grand, we'll just about be able to buy something that I have right now.
50 grand's not going to buy you a Golf 333.
No, sure it's not. They're not giving us much. 50k. Buy a flipping fish something with 50k.
Just going to go for the old tried and tested, like a quick 4-door saloon, F80 or something, about 30 grand for during the week, and then 20 grand, don't know, Caterham, kick car or some kind.
Yeah, south of France, get something with the roof off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's a good roadster now for 20 grand?
You would get an
MX-5.
You would get an earlier lease for that, you know.
Nice.
You see Graham Wallace's lease is back on collecting cars again. I think you would easily buy that for under
Z4M or Boxster.
Yeah.
Would you get a good Boxster for 20 grand?
Yeah, probably would. Would you get what about an E90?
E93,
like a V8 cab M3 or something for a bit of
noise. If you've the roof down, you want noise.
Roof down and noise for the Côte d'Azur.
All them tunnels in the south of France through the mountains.
Yeah, fantastic. I think something like that there. We V8 M3 convertible, which is also has a modicum of practicality about it. Still got 25k, maybe 30k to spend after that.
That would get you a Yaris, wouldn't
it? Get you a GR Yaris.
It would if Andy was selling it.
Exactly.
So
not if anybody else with a bit of wit.
Anyway, right, you're going to have to listen to me now, because this one especially for me. Pete mentioned earlier. So Big Pete asks, remember when you're building your Skyline for drifting? So I presume you mean my 200 SX. We did have a Skyline as well. And Robert keeping us updated with the progress. The car was built to such a high standard. I don't know if it was, Pete, but I'll take the credit anyway, and obviously a great expense. For me, it was absolutely all I had. As such, what made you want to go drifting over the other forms of motorsport? Given the budget that you've put into quite a few different options, do you think you'll ever compete in another form of motorsport? Or once the itch is scratched, does that get it out of your system? Well, look, flip me. My drifting, and I use the word career very, very lightly, started just people I was hanging around with into guys like Sideways Buff. We were talking about, big into like E34 M5s and GSI Carltons and Sideways stuff, and that was back in the day.
It's a natural progression.
Back in the day when you could hire Notts Corner Motorsport Centre for £30 an hour for like between 6 guys
on Tuesday night.
Yeah, on a weeknight.
You know,
that was amazing.
You paid more now for Xbox Live or something to sit and do it.
Oh, totally. So that's what got it under my skin, and then the Japanese car scene was just massive back in the early to mid 2000s. Had to have a Skyline, had to be Bayside Blue. That was just I had my R33, but it was actually quite heavy. It was expensive to tune. It wasn't really that fast in the end, and the 200SX was just the ubiquitous drift mobile.
Is yours RB26?
No,
Or
the Skyline was
2.5?
RB25, yeah.
Okay.
And then it was an SR20 and the...
I thought yours had an engine swap for some reason.
No, but just a turbo on it. But, yeah, so my 200SX S14 Saliva, as they're called, do you know what? It was awesome. It was just one of those things, you just got carried away. And I was just putting everything I had into it. And when I built the drift car, like all the rules and regulations were coming in for the sport as well. And it's like, do it or don't. And I thought, well, why not? And I think I was early mid-20s at the time. And back then, the car was quite cheap. And $3,000 now for a 200SX. You'll never buy one for that.
No.
An S14A. And they built a steel engine and painted it inside and out, and seats, fire extinguisher, cage, suspension, then just everything ready for competition. And then in I think it was 2009, I went to trials for the European Drift Championship, got selected, and then the next year that became an invite-only series sponsored by Pirelli. So like for 3 years did that and got to do all the big circuits in England, and it was Pirelli were providing us tyres, and I had a boat sponsor, and I had other sponsors for parts, and I had I actually think for one of those years we were sponsored by BC, who do the suspension. We were all getting coilovers, just stuff like that was just mega. And then all the events were free for the invited drivers, so you didn't have to, so like that was just, it was mind blowing. But then that series ended, and I did a bit of the British Drift Championship, discovered it was much more expensive, didn't have the tyre sponsor, and then at the time we were looking at building a house and stuff like that, and it was just the right time to get out of it. So that's a very long story short, and that's why I stepped out of it. And one of the big things, actually, it wasn't just the expense, it was the time as well. Like you mentioned Robert there, like I couldn't have done without him, because like we might have been on the ferry on a Thursday night, and the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday night of that week we were working to midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, because it had just had a head gasket or a piston.
It's not a one-man show by any means.
Replacing a turbo or putting a clutch in it, or there was always all this mad prep going on too. And I don't think we ever, at the same time, I don't think we ever missed an event in England in maybe 3 or 4 years, and the car always ran. We never, I think maybe the R33 had problems, it blew up and stuff like that, but the 200SX, like, it just kept on, as long as you fed it the right parts, right consumables, like it just kept going and going. And but yeah, life, and then it's just it's a commitment. Any sort of motorsport, you see people doing motorsport, and they've been doing it for 20, 30 years. It's a whole family affair. And well, Gary as well, like, your family into motorsport, like everyone's at it, everyone's around it, and I'm certainly where my family life is at the moment. That's not where I want to spend my family's time, so that's where I'm thinking, well, but I still like doing track days and Nürburgring and all that sort of stuff, where you can sort of slip it in for a short trip, or a day down at Kirkson, or a day down at Modelo, or something like that, which is much
but
more.
You're not as committed as what you were doing before. And
commitment for motorsport is huge. Would I love to do it again? Absolutely, but I sort of know my limits on that one. Does it get out of your system? Not really. Like, I always get a cheap feat if I'm at any sort of track and I'm not out on it. I'm not particularly happy.
Well, I think it's a bug that bites, and it's always there. Then, if you've done it even once in your life, you know you can do it, and you probably want to keep doing it. Like, I could only add that to say that always prepare for the unexpected, because in your head you picture yourself, I'm going to go to this race or track or cup day or whatever it is on Sunday, and going to go out and do all these laps. In reality, you might go out half a lap through, your brakes will go, or something will break in the engine. So just be prepared for the bad stuff. That'll really take your heart out of it as well. Yeah, so, and Pete, you say there you're going to embark on some motorsport next year, the Mini Cup at Kirkson. Funnily enough, that's something I would love to have a crack at.
you know, the Minis or the Fiestas or whatever's been run, or they used to do the 330s, the E46s. And you mentioned it's racing on a sensible budget, and that is true. And Donald's and the guys at down at Kirkuson, like that, you know, I do think they have their head screwed on there. What cars are fairly plentiful and available? I don't even think they're supercharged minis. Are the Mini Coopers? I'm sure someone will correct us on the
standard 1600s.
Yeah, someone will correct us on the forum anyway. But yeah, but even in our R53 supercharged cars, not that dear and drive really well. So that
Was there a Clio racing there at one point, or am I thinking of somewhere else? Clio Cup.
Clio Cup. I'm not sure. Don't think so. I think from my memory, it was been Fiestas for a long time, and then the minis and the 330s.
They were fairly plentiful at one point. You know, the 172s, 182s. I always thought it would have made a great base for, you know, a
totally.
series. Totally. A race series of good.
But sure, there's plenty of them have been like Group N cars and you know, the Williams and all the rest too. And a great job. I think you say, well, once these get out of my system, good luck with that. You could get the bug, and you'll just keep going at it until you need sometimes you need a seismic shift to get out of these things.
Put it like this: I've never ever in my whole life, and I've been to a lot of motorsport events with my family and met lots of people and do it and all there. I've never met anyone who's gone rallying or racing or Cup Series and says, "I really didn't enjoy that. I hated it. I never do it again." Yeah, it's always opposite.
Yeah. Well, I did drifting for 10 years. You know, and from the grassroots right up to the top of the sport, and it was amazing. But I wonder how I ever did it. You know, so but here, go and do it. Motorsport needs competitors as well. Like just anyone who's listening to this, get out there and give it a go. And needs marshals and support. So yeah, do it. Absolutely.
There's time for golf later in life. Go and do that now.
You're right. You're right. This is giving me bad ideas. If they open up a C63 Cup at Estate Cup at Kirkuson, I'll be at it. You know,
it'd be brilliant. You put all your supplies in the back of it.
Well, here we've taken up enough of your time. I think we'd better get a guest on this show. Sadly, not for this episode. Ross has just actually vacated his chair here as well, so I think we'll just bring this old E46 into the scrapyard here, since he isn't here to defend himself. Please remember to like and subscribe to the podcast. We'll be on the forum, and you can find us everywhere at RMS Motoring. And remember, there's no warranty. This is sold as seen.